Oops. Hey, welcome back, guys, to our Darling the FranXX review for episode 18. I'm your host, Cinder Blaze. With me today, we have.
Strange words.
And Makotoa.
Sorry, Jordan's
Oh,
brain
jeez.
is lagging. So,
No, I was kind of just man. When I realized what review we were doing, I was just thinking, like, man,
Man, man.
yeah. And, like, I remember when you were watching it, because you watched it a little bit after us. You like told me that, like, oh shoot, there's a wedding, and I'm like, that is exactly what I was thinking when I was watching this episode.
God, the moment someone was like, no, oh no, oh no. Here's the worst part. Is like, man, everybody's really happy.
Yeah,
Everything's going to go really bad.
yeah.
Like the moment, they're like, man, everybody seems to be having a good time.
Randall time.
Yeah, like I was just like, why is everyone just acting so happy? Can you like fight something real quick so we can kind of like extend that time so you don't have so much happiness at once? Because like once you overdose on it, someone either dies or something like this happens and you just get mind wiped. Which, man, I thought that whole everything building up to the wedding was kind of sweet in its own way. But since I was like fearing what was gonna happen the entire time, I couldn't enjoy it, you know? It wasn't a happy moment, even though like it was my favorite ship from the series.
Oh man.
Oh,
Oh man.
Man,
Yeah, they.
it's
Go ahead.
oh no, go. I was just speaking like, man, just uh,
yeah. That describes a lot of our reactions for this
It
episode.
is like they woke up like cold open, right? It was Kokoro and Mitsuru, right? Waking up together. Oh my goodness. I don't know. That just
I was like,
what?
was that it?
This is still happening. This is still there. We're gonna be reminded. And then they're like, he's hanging out in his underwear, and they're just all cuddly, and it's too much.
Yeah.
They're just kids, and then and then freaking. Okay, I think one part which I know Alex was able to at least enjoy throughout all of this, get a good laugh, was when they were
The Ichigo
when
and the other chick scene.
no, I'm talking
Oh,
about when
when Futoshi was like
yes,
crying when he hears the whole wedding announcement.
yes, and then announcing that he needs to be the priest's role.
oh gosh, freaking Futoshi just getting destroyed internally.
Yeah, I
Poor
mean
guy.
he technically has a. Okay, never mind. Oh no, I think Futoshi technically still has a small window where he can do something with it. Like long term, is probably not going to work out, but
I don't think he's gonna like. Oh man, she lost memory. Better give this a second. No,
well, Mitsuru doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
what?
I don't know. Futoshi hasn't really had like much character development outside of that. Uh, that and like that one random fat shaming
Oh yeah,
that
he
caused him to
was so.
like,
When we caught him being anorexic, apparently.
yeah, when he was like vomiting up food. Like that was
Oh
probably like
man.
the extent of Futoshi's character development. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how he kind of responds to this whole situation that they're kind of put into.
Yeah.
But I feel like the plot is gonna kick in before we're actually gonna like feel it. And
Wait, you don't think Futoshi would be shallow enough to try and go for Kokoro after her memory was
I'm
erased?
pretty
Do
sure.
you?
Pretty sure he would.
Oh
And the rest of the
no.
squad would be like, "Come on,
Oh
come on, you
no.
literally
yeah,
just
but
so
they do yell at him for these petty ass things.
yeah.
So
This
like,
is beyond petty. This is
Oh,
cruel.
it is. It
like
is.
I could
And
see Zorame yelling at him for doing something like that.
we're like getting ahead of ourselves because a lot more happens. I mean, throughout this episode, like we mentioned, the Ichigo and
The chick with glasses, I can't remember her name for the life of me because she had so
that
little
scene
screen
that
time.
happened.
Wait,
That's
Ikuno?
Yeah,
Yeah. That I was not expecting her to be that emotional.
you
to be
know,
that. Every time I've seen her in this show, I'm just like, uh, ever since that moment when this was way back when she was still like paired with on the same team as
Mitsuru.
Mitsuru. Yeah, and she tells him, um, it's not fitting for you to act like this or something like that, or it's like this is more fitting for you to be all upset or something like that. Just being unlike you though. I'm not. I can't remember how she put it, but she said, "I'm not like you. I'm not like you in the sense that I'm not going to try and um, get upset about this, or I guess make a fuss or something, or I'm actually going to not." Oh, I think it was because she knew that he still had feelings for Hero, but he wasn't going to actually do anything about it, and maybe she was internalizing that she was she was accepting of her own feelings. He wouldn't. He was still in denial, and then she was accepting of her own feelings or something like that. And so just going throughout this show, every time there'd be a moment where you look at her and it was obvious she was feeling something for Ichigo or being jealous about something towards Ichigo. It was just like, yeah, you're different, aren't you, huh? You're so different. And then finally, she says something, and finally this scene happens, and like,
Yeah.
all right.
And like I'm totally fine with like the way she kind of feels. Like it kind of came up a little. It came like about naturally. Like it was like a really small thing that happened when they were children, but like she even says it was just like it was just a small thing, but it still happened. So, it felt like really genuine from her side. And then when she kind of like makes some moves on Ichigo, I'm just kind of thinking like, where's Goro?
Oh.
you know, like.
Oh. Yeah, Goro walks in and then leaves again, just like he did when Ichigo was all over Hero.
Ouch. Yeah.
Oh, that would double
Yeah.
whammy.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like a parallel between Hiro and Mitsuru's relationship to a way, except not without the homo undertones. But it was real neat. And going back to that Goro point, one other thing that was kind of like pissing me off about his character, like amidst all this happiness, he wasn't kind of enjoying any of it at that point. And I'm just like kind of sitting here like this sly dog. He knows the second he has screen time, something bad is gonna happen. So he's like deliberately standing to the side and letting everyone else kind of like step up so they can get smacked down.
Oh my goodness, he's not that malicious. Okay, that is not his intent.
That's not. Yeah, it's not. But like that's kind of how I think about it in my mind spaces. So. If you guys are wondering why I have such a innate bias against Goro, that's probably why.
I love how your feelings or your feelings towards this character have evolved over the course of this show, because you started out rooting for him and rooting for. No, you didn't want the ship with him, but you still liked him more than I did. In that episode where it was like his episode, his focus episode, and it was just like, man, this guy is like, well, if there was one thing I regret,
it's everything.
Oh, and then like she's like, oh, I noticed you changed your little friggin' hairpiece. When was that? Was it something that Goro made you? She was hecka stalker in that moment. Like, oh,
I don't think she mentioned Goro, but
no, did someone else give it to you rather?
Yeah. Like I'm honestly interested in kind of like how that relationship kind of like fleshes out, but I don't really think
if anybody actually ships Ichigo and her.
Definitely.
There are actual shippers out there who do.
There's shippers for everything, man.
Yeah, every possible combination of objects and or people.
Hey man, not objects, mechs. Pretty sure the ships involving mechs.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
We also learned more about the apes. That what was all that? That whole sequence where they were talking in their little space bubble thing. They said, the apes would the humans or whatever, and it was a distinguishment. I don't know, but there was a distinct distinguishment that they were different than the humans.
All right, so my theory now is that souls are definitely involved somehow. like 99% sure they're somehow involved because they're like, all right, we're gonna free ourselves from the shell or what you call bodies. So I'm pretty sure whatever the Klaxors have accomplished has something to do with souls in some roundabout way at least. And they're like, all right, we need to get this. We'll dissect it. We'll figure out how it works, and then we'll just, ascend beyond humanity and
There
become.
hasn't been enough foreshadowing for like souls, in my opinion, though. Like if that was really the big thing, I don't.
Yeah,
I
like
guess it,
oh, go ahead.
Maybe it isn't souls. Maybe it's like some sort of like, oh yeah,
I think it
mind
might be
transfer or
like
something.
I think it might be an evolutionary achievement.
Well,
You
no, it
know,
says released from like not having bodies anymore is
released from these bodies could mean that they're still
no,
not
it's these shells.
shells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like that can be going in like two routes because first off, like Papa and crew, they do look robotic in some like way because like the outfits they're wearing or
It's
uh,
true.
also in addition to like their outfits, their masks in particular, they all resemble the faces of a monkey or an ape. So
Yeah.
when I was looking at that, I'm like, oh my god, is this like Planet of the Apes around two or something? Like I could probably see that happen to an extent. But going back to like stuff that's already been established in the series, like there's like this kind of there's like a lot of prejudice against kind of like the whole male female bond and how it's just kind of used only to pilot the mechs, nothing else. So they probably want some sort of freedom from like that, like their bodies that kind of like have all these emotions and stuff. They're experimenting with the kids and kind of like killing off their emotions, but like for a lot of them, they like sort of relapse, and they might be trying to do something related to that. So I don't know. I don't really have any like solid theory in my brain right now, but there was some other stuff that happened. Like
Yeah, like the 02, she had a nightmare.
I forgot what
It
was
was
the
the one
nightmare.
where like all of her
Dead
dead
stamens.
demons showed up and tried to drag her to hell or something, and then like the giant hand showed up and smashed everybody.
Oh yeah, isn't that like mirroring what happened in the book where after she kind of like the princess achieves a happiness, like the ghost from her past kind of like drag her down and back into a beast.
Oh, I forgot about that. Maybe that is.
Yeah.
And Hero's like, what happened? And then she's like, oh, it was nothing. And Hero was just like, okay. And pretends like nothing happened. And that's your good old Hero again.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish Hero wouldn't devolve back into an 8-year-old in some scenes. But he just kind of does at times. So we're just gonna have to deal with that until the end of the series, I feel.
But we did get the scene from episode 1 where they were running through the cherry blossoms. I remember distinctly because I've seen episode 1 like 3 times now.
Oh.
Yeah, that they go widescreen and everything, which this show randomly does.
Is there any greater significance attached to that, or is that just something you got noticed?
I mean, it was something of like they were mentioning something during it about sadness and or like being overwhelmed with joy because they were together, and
I'm pretty sure that's foreshadowing for them dying. One of them dying horribly.
Yeah, this is probably
Yeah.
beautiful, so much warmth. And then finally we're leading up into the stinking wedding.
And then there's despair.
And then oh, that reminds me, the 2 adults that have been watching these kids for the whole time.
Oh yeah, Nana is now quarantined.
Yeah, and the other dude's like, if I had emotions, what would something like that, remember?
Yeah, like it shows that like he still kind of cares about them to some extent,
Yeah.
but like he can't really like fully develop those feelings, and that's why he's kind of like in this rut. He sees it and he knows that it's wrong, but he can't do anything about it. He can't figure out why it's wrong, and he's just kind of like looking at Nana, and he was part of her team.
Yeah, they had a little flashback for him and everything.
Yeah, and apparently her like partner just died, and that was like super traumatizing for her. And
Yeah.
oh man, like actually seeing that for like for that character, I don't know, it kind of got to me. Like it's something that you wouldn't like expect to see coming out of her backstory. You know, from what we were given in the beginning of the series, where she's just like, you know, she seemed like a pretty straight laced adult.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know.
Oh.
Do you think that she'll get freed later on in this series?
do hope so. I hope that he comes around and frees her, because I mean, he's already showing that he's trying to seek an answer out of her, you know, to try and I don't know, to like I think he sympathizes with the children. He just doesn't. Like you said, he can't. He doesn't know how to show it right now. He's devoid of emotions, whatever the training or brainwashing and type stuff.
Indoctrination.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wanted 02 to punch Mikaela in the face, but it didn't happen this episode.
Yeah, the blonde dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like it made sense because like they're all like technically part of like they're not exactly on par with her, I feel, but they're close enough that she can't 1v2 them or 1v3 them because like
yeah, they were all on top of her.
Yeah, and then Hero just gets put down so easily.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just wondering why this guy is our main character, but he made the right connections, I feel.
Yeah. They don't even get the kiss.
Yeah, but I feel like that would have been like if the wedding got kind of like interrupted after that, it probably would have foreshadowed some more ominous things. At least now, you know, maybe they can probably kiss make up at the very end of the series.
Yeah, so they might not die.
Yeah, and like the way they were kind of describing how they got mind wiped, how it was like similar to Hero and 02's mind wipe when they were kids. Like that kind of like kept me at ease at the end, at least, because there's at least hope that they'll get their memories back. Like Coco's probably like halfway there already in like 5 seconds, so we're just
yeah, that's right. She looked out the window and saw cherry blossoms.
I feel like do this. There's a setup for one of them dying. Because it makes a lot of sense. Like, oh, they just got married, then they got mind wiped.
Also,
and
the
then...
next question is she prego?
Pretty sure we don't have enough time to explore that route. Because
it is definitely
do
possible.
Time skip it like the second to last episode or something.
It's like time skip 8.5 months. Oh, surprise! They just didn't do anything about it because reasons.
If I possessed emotions, what could I have said to the children?
Yeah. I mean,
he knows that there's something wrong, but he's like, well, I can't really do much about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely possible, and I'm not sure how death flags are gonna be working in the series until we actually find an antagonist that's actually gonna be killing their mechs right now. Because right now,
I mean, there's the Klaxor princess.
Yeah, but if you're good friends with her, I feel like she might be on their side.
I feel like she's.
Hey, there's a chance it's just nearly kills one of them, and then one of the nines comes in and finishes them off. Because they're like, oh, hey, you were supposed to kill them. And then she's like, you know what? I've decided against it. And then it's nines versus Squad 13 and the Klaxor princess.
Yeah, and then once they're done with that, then we have to fight Papa and them. Because I feel like, you know, the room they're sitting in with like the giant ass chairs is probably like the control room for an even bigger mech for some reason.
I mean, they were building that huge mech, but I'm pretty sure that we're not going to get any gigantic mechs. That would be too nice.
No, I am pretty sure we're going to get a giant ass mech. Something has to fight that giant, like, hand that came out of the ground.
I feel like we'll get something like, I don't know, city sphere scale, but not, you know, skyscraper size.
All right. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts for this episode? Because we're running a little bit long.
Yeah, I think we're probably good. I could talk more about like speculation on who might die based on like the shipping stuff, but I don't.
We're not talking about that because that just makes me sad.
Yeah.
All right. I hope we find out why they're called ape of all things?
They're monkeys, dude. They're monkeys
That's
in
it.
robotic suits,
This
and
is
they're
Planet
taking their
of the
revenge
Apes.
on their humans.
I'd like a better explanation. No, that's kind of weird.
It's I don't know, man. It was hidden in plain sight. We didn't know. We thought apes was a metaphor or something, or just their name, but turns out they're actually apes.
Oh yeah, and like when the Clock Store princess like takes off one of their masks, and she's like, "Oh, look at them trying to be human." Like,
Yeah.
What if they're literal monkeys? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, sure, why not? I guess
Oh my god.
that'd be hilarious, but also dumb.
I don't know, like in the final fight, if they break into the little control room for the mech and they start throwing shit at Hero, I'm gonna be laughing my ass off.
All right, okay.
All right. We are done. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all the other jazz down below. Discuss with us the episode. Nothing about Krokoro and Mitsuru dying because that makes me sad and I won't talk back to you. But anything else is free. So make sure to look at our social media links in the description down below and that juicy Discord link as well if you want to discuss more about this anime or anything you so please. We'll catch you next time. Keep it juicy.
See ya.
Yeah.
Ooh, outro.
Oh man.
Yo, we got Tokyo Ghoul tomorrow, by the way.
Oh man. At least I'm not having to like. There's so much new stuff out this season that I don't have time to think like, oh, I can't wait for that next episode.